Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Amir Fidaus bin Zulkifli, and today I want to talk about Uruf. For the introduction, one of the most significant supporting sources in Islamic law is Uruf, or customary law. This can be observed in numerous legal judgments in Islamic law, which is founded on Uruf, and most of the ahkam will alter depending on the circumstance, place and time. The base of Uruf or custom is a result of the people's nature and culture, and it increases in power and popularity via imitation, which transmits and implants it in people's life. Normally, these Uruf custom are passed down through generation until additional custom image that can overcome the older ones. As a result, this research suggested and described the Uruf and this application in Islamic law, focusing on the contrast between Uruf, Adah and Ijma'. Furthermore, the categories of Uruf were thoroughly examined in terms of Sharia. The proof of Uruf was critically described as were the legal maxims under Uruf and the laws that control the applicability of Uruf under Islamic law, and it finished with a well-reasoned conclusions. Okay, next about Uruf definition. Uruf literally means that which is known, as a derived from the Arabic word is arafa, means to know. In its most basic sense, it is known versus the unknown, the familiar and conventional versus the unexpected and odd. Uruf and Adah are virtually interchangeable, and the majority of ulama use them as such. Uruf is described as repeated activities that are acceptable to person good character. This definition makes it apparent that customs to serve as a viable foundation for legal discussions must be sound and fair. As a result, repeated behaviors among some persons that provide no benefit or participate in discrimination and corruption are excluded from the notion of Uruf. This would also explain why Uruf, in the sense of custom, is not given importance in the legal theory of the usul al-fiqh, even though it carries some authority. As well as we will see later, custom that does not violate Sharia principles is lawful and authoritative. It must be followed and maintained by a court of law. What is proven by Uruf is like which is proven by Sharia evidence. According to a legal maxim documented by Shafi'i jurist al-Sayuti in his well-known book Al-Ashbah wa Al-Nazair. Okay, next is about proof of Uruf. Although the ulama has sought to find textual authority for Uruf in Quran, their efforts have not been without challenges. To begin, the Quranic passage in Surah Al-Hajj is generally referred to as which states, God has not put upon you any burden in religion. This is certainly not a direct authority on the matter, but it is stated that regarding the prevalent Uruf that does not contradict the nusus of Sharia is likely result in continuing suffering for the people, which must be avoided. The next ayah used in favor of Uruf is found in Surah Al-Araf. Although by having a clear reference to Uruf, it has been difficult to identify as it is majority authority. The majority of ulama however, believe that the reference to uruf in this ayah refers to literal sense of term, that is to what is familiar and good rather than to tradition as such. However, considering that accepted custom is typically preserved by person of sound character and intelligence, the Quranic idea of uruf comes near precise meaning of this word. In other words, literal or Quranic meaning of uruf confirm its technical definition, and the two uses of the term are in strict agreement with one another. Another point considered in this regard is the evolution of statutory legislation as a tool of governance in contemporary times. The endeavor to codify the law into self-contained legislation has decreased the need to rely on social custom as the foundation for decision makings to some extent. Even that, it would be incorrect to suggest that custom has case to play a vital role as a sources of law and foundation 7 for judicial decision making. The fuqaha of the latest areas are on record as changing the earlier jurist judgments that were based on custom due to future changes in the custom itself. In instance provide below this demonstrate that jurists have generally considered uruf not only as a viable basis of ijtihad, but also as a vital signal of the necessity for legal change.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Muhammad Afiq bin Muhammad Suhaimi, and today I would like to explain about condition of valid uruf and example in Islamic banking and finance. First is classification of uruf. Islamic jurists have developed a classification of the different types of uruf and have divided them into various types. The classification are the verbal custom, uruf al-qawli, and practical custom, uruf al-amali. The variable uruf consists of the general agreement of the people on the usage and meaning of the word for purpose other than their literal meanings. Because of such agreement, the customary meaning tend to become dominant, and the original of literal meaning is reduced to an expectation. For example, word salah. The literal meaning of this word is ad-du'a, which means supplication or request, which has, however, been used in the Quran to describe the obligatory ritual prayers of the Muslim. The second usage eventually become dominant on as far as the literal meaning of this word is reduced to obscurity. As the practical uruf, it consists of commonly recurrent practice of the people in daily life and in civil transactions. Recurrent practice in normal daily life means to private practice in life which has nothing to do with other people, such as eating, sleeping, cultivating, and other such matters. The recurrent practice in the civil transaction for the practice that are meant to avoid cause for legal dispute. This would normally involve two contracting parties. Example sales, rent, marriage, and other similar contracts. For example, of practical uruf which occurs in normal daily life in the practice of people in certain place of taking vacation on these days. Example, the New Year Day. They are taking vacation on this day is considered as uruf for a certain group people and can be used by such a group every year. Second is general custom, uruf al-am, and particular custom, uruf al-qas. Uruf, whether verbal or in practice, is divided into two types: general uruf al-am and particular uruf al-qas. The general uruf is the common custom that is prevalent everywhere among all people in a matter regardless of the passage of time. An example of this in the contract of istana in many matters such as clothing, furniture, and etc. This type of contract is necessity and is commonly practiced everywhere. Particular custom, uruf al-khas, is uruf which is prevalent in a particular locality, professional of trade. This type of uruf accepted by the people in a particular place and not all places. The example for this type of uruf is such as the practice among the traders in wholesale trading, which allow the payment of goods to be deferred to certain period of time, which is not practiced in retail transaction. According to the preferred view of Hanafi school, special uruf does not qualify the general provisions of the Nas, although some Hanafi jurists have held otherwise. Consequently, this type of uruf entirely ignored when it is found to be in conflict with the Nas. Thirdly is the valid uruf, uruf al-sahih, and uruf custom, uruf al-fasid. Finally, custom is once again divided into valid uruf al-sahih and invalid custom, uruf al-fasid. The valid custom in the uruf that practiced by people which does not contravene the Sharia and then deny the interest of people and at the same time does not bring corruption. Many of the examples mentioned above come with the scope of this type of uruf. On the other hand, the invalid custom is the custom that is practiced by the people that there is evidence to show that is against the practices of Sharia, or it denies the interest of people. It brings corruption. An example of this type of uruf is the practice of usury in transaction, paying interest and to the customer. Although it is common among many people, it clearly contradicts the clear text of Quran and Sunnah. Therefore, such transactions are invalid and must be avoided. Condition of valid uruf. Muslim scholars have laid down the condition that must be fulfilled in a customary practice in order to consider it as valid uruf. Besides being reasonable and acceptable to people with wise reason and sound behavior, uruf, in order to be authoritative, must fulfill the following requirements. First, it must be common and recurrent phenomenon. This means that the uruf must be practiced by the people commonly and frequently in their daily life. The practice of a few individuals or a limited number of people within a large community would neither be authoritative. Second is uruf must be in practice at the time of transaction. It contracts and commercially transaction. Effective in contract and commercially transaction. Effect is given only to customs which are prevalent at the time the transaction is concluded, and not to custom of subsequent origin. Third is custom must not violate the Nas. That is the definitive principle of the law. The opposition of custom to Nas may be either absolute or partial. If it is the former, there is no doubt that custom must be set aside. Custom must not contravene the clear stipulation of an agreement. A custom can only be applied if there are no contractual agreements made in particular transaction. This is because A custom is only equivalent of an implied condition. The general rule is that contractual agreements prevail over custom, and recourse to custom is only valid in the absence of an agreement. Since contractual agreements are stronger than custom. Next is application of Uruf in deposit product under Islamic bank. The fundamental difference between Islamic banks and the existing commercial banks is the avoidance of riba in Islamic banking. Islamic banks are also universal or multipurpose banks and not purely commercial banks. A crossbreed between commercial banks and investment banks, investment trusts, and investment management institutions. Since the Islamic bank would share in the risk of the consignment venture business or indemnity, it would need to be more careful in the evaluation of application. The activities of the banks will be based on the commercial transaction is allowed in Islam, include mudarabah, ijarah, bay'a, bi taman ajal, and murabah. During the 1970s, efforts were made in various Muslim countries to establish Islamic bank. The objective of these banks is in general have been to promote, foster, and develop the application of Islamic principle, law, and tradition of the transaction of financial, banking, and related business affairs. Islamic deposit account, based on legal maxim, under the concept of Uruf, which are a matter recognized as customary amongst merchants, is regarded as if agreed upon between them. Al-ma'ruf baina al-tajarkal rubaina'um. A matter established by custom is like a matter established by a legal text. Al-ma'rufu. Islamic deposit accounts are like conventional banks. Islamic banks rely on depositors' funds as well as their own capital and as major source of funds. Therefore, deposits are mainly the form of current deposit, demand account, saving, and time deposits. Next is current account. For a conventional bank, a current deposit facility is a deposit facility in which the owner of entitles to receive his or her funds on current and to write checks on the account, which transfer legal ownership of funds to others. This facility is widely known as current account, and it's designed for those who need money for transaction purpose. The purpose of using this facility is for convenient or to make payment for daily commitment. Interest is seldom paid on this account. In fact, commercial banks in some countries will impose a moderate service fee on this account, besides charging the unavoidable costs such as the cost of the checkbook and stamp duty. The obligation of bank and account holder in current account. The element usually apply in the contract between Islamic banks and current account holder. First is money given to the bank will be considered as a loan if principle of Qard Hasan is applied, but the money is given to the bank is for safe custody when the wadi'ah principle is used. Second is if the deposit is made under the principle of wadi'ah, the bank seeks permission from customers to see this deposit at bank's own risk as long as the funds remain with the banks. Permission is not needed under the principle of Qard Hasan. No reward will be given to the customer. Thirdly is the account holders may withdraw the a part of the whole of their deposit at any time they so desire, and the bank guarantee to honor such request. Lastly, is both parties will abide by the rules and regulation related to the operational aspect of demand's deposit account. Next is saving accounts. The second category of deposit is the saving account to conventional banks. This account is to facilitate those who wish to save money and at the same time earn an income. The three Sharia principles used by Islamic banks for saving account are Qard Hasan, Wadi'ah Yad, Damah, and Mudarabah. The depositors in this category are those who hold money primarily because of precautionary motive, while instantaneously induced by an investment motive. Although all Islamic banks are operating saving account except Islamic banks in Turkey, there are some difference in the operation of this account. A typical example is that of the Bank Islam Malaysia, which defines saving account in the following way. The bank accepts deposit from each customer looking for safe custody of their funds and a degree of convenience in their use, together with the possibility of some profit in the form of saving account of the principle of Al-Wadi'ah Yad Damah. The bank requests permission to use this fund so long as this fund remain with the bank. The depositors can withdraw the balance at any time they so desire to the bank guarantees to refund of all such balance. All the profit generated by the banks from the use of such funds belong to the portion of the bank. However, in contrast with the current account, the bank may add its absolute discretion rewards to the customer by returning a portion of the profits generated from the use of their funds from time to time. Lastly, investment account. The third category of deposit facility is for those who keep money for investment motive. Customers who have idle funds usually want better returns. Investment deposits are Islamic banks' counterpart of term deposit, of time deposit, or times deposit in the conventional system. They are also called PLS accounts or participatory account. However, they can be distinguished from traditional fixed term deposits in the following manner. First is fixed term deposit in the conventional system operating on the basis of interest, while investment account in Islamic banks operate on the basis of profit sharing, which is straightforward Mudarabah. Mudarabah is where the provider of the funds, the saver, entrusts their money to an expert, the investor, the bank, so that they can make a profit from it. Instead of promising depositors a predetermined fixed rate of return on their investment, the bank tells them only the ratio in which it will share the profit with them. How much profit each depositor earns depends on the final outcome of the bank's own investment. Second is, while fixed term deposits are usually distinguished from each other based on the maturities, investment depositors can be distinguished based on maturity as well as based on purpose, as it is possible to give special instruction to the banks to the bank to invest a particular deposit in a specific project or trade. I think that's all for me. Thank you.